Hello again, welcome to video 4. One of the great writers in CBT who stood the test of time is called Claire Weekes. She was a doctor of science and she was also a medical doctor. I don't think she herself would have considered herself to be a CBT writer, but she was basically a generic writer she was a best-selling author, and she's given great strength to millions of people. And also her books, although they were written in the 60s and 70s, they've stood the test of time. They were fantastic books, so if you're looking for anything to give comfort, support, advice about the nervous system, about anxiety or depression or OCD, then you can't do any better than look for books by Dr. Claire Weekes. Now, she had a very important maxim to convey. She had a lot of important maxims to convey, but one of them was recovery lies in the places we avoid. So that's very important with the nervous system. Recovery lies in the places we avoid. And it's also quite reminiscent of the Susan Jeffers book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So, if we look at that, recovery lies in the places we avoid. Quite often, if we're anxious or nervous, or at worst, if we have panic attacks, we tend to avoid the places that cause us distress. If we avoid them too much, then suddenly agoraphobia, or fear of going out, is born, and then we've got a real big problem, because our life becomes a diminished circle. Suddenly we're not living to our full potential. Life becomes small and very restricted. But if we are prepared to go into those places, then what we can do is float through the discomfort that our nervous system may be presenting to us, float through it and allow ourselves to feel that fear and do it anyway, as Susan Jeffers' book says. Now, Claire Weekes talked about accepting, floating and letting time pass. So you see a situation that's difficult, you accept what you see, you accept what you feel, you float through it and you let time pass. Because the nervous system, quite often, anxiety will run on adrenaline and cortisol, and it will be those things that are causing you the discomfort. So if you can get through that and float through it, knowing that the adrenaline is never going to do you any harm anyway, you can float through those difficult times, let time pass, in the knowledge that you're going to be okay. This concept of floating is about being willing and able to go with what is presented to you. These can be very difficult feelings, especially if they're panic attacks. But what you do, you take on board what comes up and you accept it fully and utterly, and you float through it without responding to it and without being panicked or freaked by it. So you say, I feel terrible, but I'm going to go with it. Like I said in a previous video, you bend like the willow in the wind, and those who bend don't break. So accept, float, let time pass, in the knowledge that recovery lies in the places we avoid. So if we give a real life example of this, it could be that you avoid going to supermarkets because you feel dreadful and panicky or anxious when you get there, and you might think, oh, I never want to go there again. That might be a huge supermarket. You might think, well, I'm just going to go to the smaller one on the corner, or even a smaller one, just the corner shop. And then again, your life becomes restricted, constricted, smaller, and you end up agoraphobic. You end up going nowhere, or you end up shopping online because you can't stand the feelings that arise when you're in a certain situation. What I'm suggesting, and what CBT and any other model of therapy really would suggest, is that you go with that, you go into the supermarket and you float through it. You might have difficult feelings, it might feel dreadful, but you should float through in the knowledge that nothing bad can happen to you. It will just feel as if it will. And the reason that Claire Weekes' maxim is so good is that she says recovery lies in the places we avoid. So your recovery from anxiety or panic will lie, in my example, in that supermarket. So if you've avoided it until now because of the way you feel, what I'm suggesting is that you go with it, because you will not feel like that if you go into the supermarket and stay there. You might feel terrible going in. Typically you might think, I'm going to faint, I'm going to go mad, I'm going to scream out, anything like that. I'm going to, pass out. All terrible feelings. Nobody wants to feel like that. But because the initial panic will kick in, your adrenaline will soar and soar and soar. But adrenaline being a chemical, it will eventually decline. Most people leave the supermarket when the adrenaline's rising, so instead of it letting it go to there, they leave when it's there. So they never learn that it's never going to do them any harm. So recovery lies in staying with the curve until it subsides. So you have to stay in the supermarket long enough for that to take place. Now you don't need to pay £100 an hour, or even more. You don't need to pay £150 an hour to a CBT therapist to know that. It doesn't take any form filling. It doesn't take anything to know that. All you've got to do is stay and know that recovery lies in the places we avoid. That can free you from agoraphobia. It can free you from the fear of public speaking. It can free you from any trepidation just by going with it, knowing that you'll be okay. It's the adrenaline response that causes the fear, and while it's rising, all you have to do is stay there, feel it rise, know that nothing's going to go wrong, stay, and let it pass. But stay in the supermarket. If you go, if you leave, if you flee, you will be avoiding it. This is part of the fight or flight process. If you stay, you will be staying, and there will your recovery lie. By staying, you will recover. By staying, you will combat your fear, and you will be teaching your subconscious mind that there's nothing to fear. Many people flee while the adrenaline is rising. It feels so uncomfortable. They're getting all the negative automatic thoughts, and they say, oh, get out of here, I'm going to faint, I'm going to die, I'm going to scream, I'm going to pass out. So they leave. They sit at the end of the row in a church service, they sit at the end of the row in a cinema. They want to get out as quickly as possible because they can't bear the feelings of panic. What I'm suggesting is that you stay there and you wait to see what happens. You'll find that you just feel bad. Nothing will happen. You'll just feel bad. You've got to tolerate those feelings, because recovery lies in the places we avoid. There's nothing actually to fear except the emotion. What it is it's an emotional response. It's an adrenaline and a cortisol response. You can get over that by simply staying in the place. If you leave when the anxiety is kicking in, you'll teach your subconscious mind that you're in a fearful place. Now, supermarket isn't fearful, so you don't want to be leaving the supermarket. You want to stay there. If you flee from every supermarket, you become agoraphobic. Your life becomes small and, shallow. So by staying there, you teach the subconscious mind that you're going to be alright. If you flee, the subconscious mind, next time you go to the supermarket, says you're in danger, get out of there. So it releases adrenaline, makes you feel uncomfortable, and you flee again. And you say to the family at home, you say, oh, every time I go into Tesco or Asda, I feel dreadful. I can never go in there again. I'll never go there again. Because why? They'll say, why? Because I feel terrible. I always have a panic attack. What I'm saying is, if you stay there long enough, the panic will subside. But most people flee. So the next time they go, they feel terrible. They feel terrible even before they get there, because the adrenaline kicks in. And because the subconscious mind says, oh, hold on a minute, the last time you came to Tesco, you felt terrible. There's danger. Release adrenaline, flee. By staying there, You teach the subconscious mind that nothing bad's going to happen. It sees the scene of Tesco or Asda or Aldi, and it says, I feel terrible, but I can stay. And that's the difference. That's when you're conquering your fears. I feel terrible, but I can stay. A negative automatic thought is saying, oh, get out of here, you're in danger. But you're not in danger. Now you don't need a CBT therapist to tell you that. What it needs is for you to stay where you are. How long shall you stay? Over 30 minutes. Stay, walk around for over 30 minutes. An hour if you can. That would be brilliant. But stay. And stay because recovery lies in the places we avoid. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.